ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaskar my dear friends, this is video number 4 on the self-inquiry as explained and described by Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi. This is question number 8. Devotee. What is the purport of the teaching that in Pratyahara one should meditate on the Parnava? Maharshi replies, the purport of the prescribing meditation on the Parnava is this. The Parnava is Omkara consisting of 3.5 mantra, which A, U, M and Ardha mantra. Of these, A stands for the waking state, Visvajiva and the gross body. U stands for the dream state, Tejasva Jiva and the subtle body. M stands for the sleep state, Prajna Jiva and the causal body. The Ardha mantra represents the Turiya, which is the self or I nature, and what is beyond that is the state of Turiya Tita or pure bliss. The fourth state, which is the state of I nature, was referred to in the section on meditation, dhyana. This has been variously described as of the nature of amatra, which includes the three matras A, U and M, as monakshara, silence level, as ajapa, as muttering without muttering, and as the Advaita mantra, which is the essence of all mantras, such as Panchakshara. In order to get all this true significance, one should meditate on the Parnava. This is meditation which is of the nature of devotion, consisting in reflection the truth of the self. The fruition of this process is samadhi, which yields release, which is the state of unsurpassed bliss. The revered gurus also have said that release is to be gained only by the devotion which is of the nature of reflection on the truth of the self. The aim of yama and niyama is the attainment of all good paths open to those eligible for moksha. For more details, see works like the Yoga Sutra, Hatha Yoga Deepika. Siddhasana, left heel should be placed over the genital organ and over that the right heel fixing one's gaze between the eyebrows. One's body should be motionless and erect like a stick. Although it is true that the lotus in the crown of the head is said to have 1,000 petals, it also may be described as having 8 petals because each of these 8 consists of 125 subpetals. Question number 29. Devotee, what is the purport of the teaching that one should meditate through the I am He thought on the truth that one is not different from the self-luminous reality that shines like flame? Maharshi replies, A. The purport of teaching that one should cultivate the idea that one is not different from the self-luminous reality is this. Scripture defines meditation in these words. In the middle of the eight-petaled heart lotus, which is of the nature of all and which is referred to as Kailasa, Vaikuntha and Paramapada. There is the reality which is of the size of the thumb, which is dazzling like lightning and which shines like a flame. By meditating on it, a person gains immortality. From this, we should know that by such meditation, one avoid the defects of number one, the thought of difference of the form I am different and that is different. 2. The meditation on what is limited. 3. The idea that the real is limited and that is confined to one place. B. The purport of teaching that one should meditate with the I am he thought is this. Soham, Sa, the Supreme Self, Aham, the Self that is manifest as I. The Jiva, which is the Sivalinga, resides in the heart lotus, which is its seat situated in the body, which is the city of Burma. The mind, which is of the nature of egoity, goes outward, identifying itself with the body, etc. Now, the mind should be resolved in the heart, that is, the I sense that is placed in the body, etc., should be got rid of. When thus inquires, who am I? Remaining undisturbed in that state, the self nature becomes manifest in a subtle manner as I. That self nature is all and yet one, and is manifest as the Supreme Self everywhere without the distinction of inner and outer, that shines like a flame as was stated above, signifying the truth I am Brahma. If without meditating on that as being identical with oneself, one imagines it to be different, ignorance will not leave. Hence, the identity meditation is prescribed. If one meditates for a long time without disturbance on the self ceaselessly with the I am he thought, which is the technique of reflection on the self, the darkness of ignorance which is in the heart, and all the impediments which are but the effects of ignorance will he will be removed and the plenary wisdom will be gained. Thus, realizing the reality in the heart cave, which is the city of Burma, which the body is the same as realizing the all perfect God. In the city with 9 gates, which is the body, the wise one resides at ease. If the meditation in the form I am, Shivoham Bhavana, which prevents the thought going outward, is practiced, always Samadhi will come about. Vela, Velalar. 8. In the city that has 9 false gates, he resides in the form of bliss. Bhagavad Gita. The body is the temple, the Jiva is God Shiva. If one worships him with the I am he thought, one will gain release. The body, which consists of the 5 seats, is the cave. The Supreme that resides there is the Lord of the cave. Thus the scriptures declare. Since the self is the reality of all the gods, the meditation on the self, which is oneself, is the greatest of all meditations. All other meditations are included in this. It is for gaining this that the other meditations are prescribed. So, if this is gained, the other are not necessary. Knowing one's self is knowing God. Without knowing one's self that meditates, imagining that there is a deity which is different and meditating on it is compared by the great ones to the act of measuring with one's foot one's own shadow and to the search for a trivial conch after knowing away a priceless gem that is already in one's possession. Question number 30. Devotee. Even though the heart and the Brahmarandra alone are the loci fit for meditation, could one meditate, if necessary, on the sixth mystic centers, adharas? Maharshi replies, the six mystic centers, etc., which are said to be the loci of meditation, are but products of imagination. All these are meant for beginners in yoga. With reference to meditation on the sixth centers, the Shiva yogins say God, who is of the nature of the non-dual, plenary consciousness, self-manifest, sustains and resolves us all. It is a great sin to spoil that reality by superimposing on it various names and forms such as Ganapati, Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Maheswara, and Sadasiva. And the Vedantins declare all those are but imaginations of the mind. Therefore, if one knows one's self, which is of the nature of consciousness, that knows everything, one knows everything. The great ones have also said, when that one is known as it is in the when that one is known as it is in itself, all that has not been known becomes known. If we who are endowed with the various thoughts meditate on God, that is the self, we would get rid of the plurality of thoughts by that one thought, and then even that one thought would vanish. This is what is meant by saying that knowing one's self is knowing God. This knowledge is release. Question number 31. Devotee. How is one to think of the self? Maharshi. The self is self-luminous without darkness and light, and is the reality which is self-manifest. Therefore, one should not think of it as this or as that. The very thought of thinking will end in bondage. The purport of meditation on the self is to make the mind take the form of the self. In the middle of the heart cave, the pure Brahma is directly manifest as the self in the form I. Can there be greater ignorance than to think of it in manifold ways without knowing it as aforementioned? Aforementioned. We shall meditate on that which existing in the form of self is the Atam Tattva, is effulgent, and which residing in all living things always say I. To seek for a God outside, leaving the God residing in the cave of the heart, is like throwing away a priceless gem and searching for trivial lead. Question number 32. Devotee. It was stated that Brahma is manifest as the self in the form I in the heart. To facilitate understanding of this statement, can it be still further explained? Maharshi. It is not within the experience of all that during deep sleep, swoon, etc., there is no knowledge whatsoever, that is, neither self knowledge nor other knowledge. Afterwards, when there is experience of the form, I have woken up from sleep or I have recovered from swoon, is that not a mode of specific knowledge that has arisen from the aforementioned distinctionless state? This specific knowledge is called Vijnana. This Vijnana becomes manifest only as pertaining to either the self or the not self and not by itself. When it pertains to the self, it is called true knowledge. Knowledge in the form of that mental mode whose object is the self, or knowledge which has for its content the impartite self, and when it relates to the not self, it is called ignorance. The state of this vijnana, when it pertains to the self and is manifest as of the form of the self, is said to be the manifestation. This manifestation cannot take place as apart from the real, that is the self. It is this manifestation that serves as the mark for the direct experience of the real. Yet, this by itself cannot constitute the state of being the real. That depending on which this manifestation takes place is the basic reality, which is also called prajna. The Vedantic text Prajnam Brahma teaches the same truth. Know this as the purport of the scriptures also. The self, which is self-luminous and the witness of everything, manifests itself as residing in the Vijnana Kosa, seat of the intellect, by the mental mode which is impartite. Seize the self as your goal and enjoy it as the self. Question number 33. Devotee, what is that which is called the inner worship or worship of the attributeless? Maharshi. In texts such as the Ribhu Gita, the worship of the attributeless has been elaborately explained as a separate discipline. Yet, all disciplines such as sacrifice, charity, austerity, observance of vows, japa, yoga, and puja are in effect modes of meditation of the form I am Brahma. So, in all the modes of disciplines, one should see to it that one does not stray away from the thought I am Brahma. This is the purport of the worship of attributeless. Question number 34. Devotee. What are the 8 limbs of knowledge, Gyan Ashtanga? Maharshi, the 8 limbs are these which have been already mentioned, which Yama, Niyama, etc., but differently defined. Of these, number 1, Yama. This is controlling the aggregate of sense organs, realizing the defects that are present in the world consisting of the body, etc. 2. Niyama. This is maintaining a stream of mental modes that relates to the self and rejecting the contrary modes. In other words, it means love that arises uninterruptedly for the Supreme Self. 3. Asana, that with the help of which constant meditation on Brahma is made possible with ease as asana. 4th, pranayama, rechaka, exhalation, is removing the two unreal aspects of name and form from the objects constituting the world, the body, etc. Puraka, inhalation, is grasping the three real aspects: existence, consciousness, and bliss, which are constant in those objects, and Kumbhaka is retaining those aspects thus grasped. 5. Pratyahara. This is preventing name and form which have been removed from re-entering the mind. 6. Dharana. This is making the mind stay in the heart without straying outward and realizing that one is the self itself, which is existence, consciousness, bliss. 7th, dhyana. This is meditation of the form I am only pure consciousness. That is, after leaving aside the body, which consists of five seats, one inquires who am I, and as a result of that, one stays as I, which shines as the self. 8th, samadhi. When the I manifestation also ceases, there is subtle direct experience. This is samadhi. For the pranayama, etc., detailed here, the disciplines such as asana, etc., mentioned in connection with yoga are not necessary. The limbs of knowledge may be practiced at all places and at all times. Of yoga and knowledge, one may follow whichever is pleasing to one or both according to circumstances. The great teachers say that forgetfulness is the root of all evil and is death for those who seek release. So one should rest the mind in one's self and should never forget the self. This is the aim. If the mind is controlled, all else can be controlled. The distinction between yoga with eight limbs and knowledge with eight limbs has been set forth elaborately in the sacred text. So only the substance of this teaching has been given here. So I end this video here, and the next video will start with question number 35. Thanks a lot. Namaskar, my dear friends. Please like, comment, and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thank you. Namaskar.